Yes, everyone, welcome back to the channel. Stephen Howson, XG Files. I actually went live about 3 minutes ago without going live. Apologies. Using a new bit of software, and it didn't go live because I don't know what I'm doing. But cheers for joining us. I'm going to be talking about Rashford, and I don't like this at all. I don't like this headline in the slightest. Going to be talking a little bit about the World Cup and various other things. And all the rest of that sort of stuff. But cheers for joining us. Hope you're having a good day. Make sure to like the video and get your questions in as well. I was meant to go live 30 minutes ago, but Uncle Pat decided to absolutely bend my ear off about his love for United and various other stuff. And I'm not even apologetic because it was an absolute treat. So welcome. Like the video, get your questions in, and I'll do my best to answer as much as I can do. Right, so let's talk about this headline then with Marcus Rashford. So this sort of comes on the back of the PSG president singling out Marcus and talking about him, and that's Al Khalifi. He said on Rashford, he's amazing. To have Rashford for free, every club will be running after him. We're not hiding it. We've spoken before. Maybe this summer, why not? If he's a free agent, we can talk directly to him, but not now. According to Transfermarkt, his contract runs out in June and the club have a 1-year option to extend. There is nothing short of 100% chance that the club extend his contract for that 1 year. Absolutely no chance whatsoever that they don't do that. I'll get the full quotes from the PSG president because honestly, well, for starters, I don't like it because I think that there's probably something in it. Don't worry about it, mate. It's fine. Yeah, I'm live, but it's my channel, so it's cool. So here's what he was saying. Obviously, we got that one. He said, he's another player that's really amazing for free. I've already said that one. If he's a free agent, of course, we can talk to him direct, but we're not going to talk to him now. Let's focus on the World Cup. Then after, in January, hopefully, if we're interested, we can talk to him. So I think PSG are probably going to get somebody sold this summer. They could lose Messi. They could lose Neymar or Mbappe. I think Mbappe is going to stick around for a little bit longer now, but there's always speculation about those guys. And could I see them bringing Marcus Rashford in? 1,000% yes. 1,000% yes. There's a chance that Marcus looks around at the competition that's at United with Garnacho coming through, with Sancho, the talk of Gakpo coming in, and literally every single player that United linked to is in his position. You might feel like the club maybe don't value him and decides that, do you know what, a change would be good. I couldn't see him leaving for anywhere in England. I think he's too much of a United fan to do that. I'd be shocked if he went anywhere in England. But I think Marcus's reputation in Europe, because you've got to remember, Marcus has put in good performances against PSG, put in good performances against the likes of Leipzig and that in the past. He's done well in the Champions League and he's done well internationally. So whether or not those who watch people week in, week out in the Premier League might think, well, yeah, he's been pretty poor for 18 months prior to the start of this season. The reputation of him abroad is not that. The reputation of him abroad is actually an extremely talented player with an extremely marketable sort of reputation. So it would honestly not stop. I don't think it would stop anyone from thinking about bringing Marcus in. And I think the fact that the PSG president has so openly spoken the way he has, there's no denial in that. There's no just think about some of the things that you've heard from board members before. It's always dismissive. It's always whatever. We're not hiding it, the interest in Marcus Rashford. We've spoken before. And interest. But the moment was not good for both sides. Maybe summer, why not? If that came from a player, that's a come and get me plea. The fact that a club are quoting him so much, now you don't know if that might be something that they're doing to try and maybe help with the negotiation, maybe, because obviously this moment now is exactly where you would start to sort of discuss a new contract. And I think if Manchester United think they're going up against no one, it's very easy for them to renew Marcus's contract and lowball him. Whereas if they think the likes of PSG would come and swoop him up and take him for free, then you're talking potentially about a whole different sort of situation. That's interesting. Let me know, you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Ion says, would not be a good move. Look at what happened to the likes of Icardi. Rashford would be phased out and sold to a championship team or Italian mid-table team. I think he's a lot better than that. Adrian says it's -6 in Lancashire. I don't mean to gloat, but it is not -6 here today, mate. Aaron says, I actually think the best solution would be Sancho to PSG. I rate him, but United is too heavy for him. Me and Joel was talking about this last night, and I actually think from a Manchester United point of view, let's say that you've got the same sort of feelings on both Marcus and on Sancho, that at the current moment, neither of them are quite living up to where you think they're going to be, and maybe the manager wants to look elsewhere to bring somebody else in if that's what he was thinking. It's a lot easier to move Marcus on, sell him for whatever you get for him, because that's seen as profit because he's an academy product. Whereas, do you think you'd get your money back for Sancho? Going to PSG, you might. But if he was going anywhere else, you're probably not. You're probably going to make a loss on Sancho. And you know how these businesses work, and you know the way they think. If you was to take a loss on a player, that's seen as being very, very negative for obvious reasons. Whereas anything that you get from Marcus is profit because he came from as an academy product. So it wouldn't surprise me from the club's perspective if they preferred Marcus to be sold over Sancho, because you essentially got Marcus for free. You can agree or disagree on where the players are, but that's not the point I'm talking about. I'm talking about where they're valued at. Google this says, it's not a matter of the club not value him. Rashford's simply not worth the wages he is asking. We all love him, but we have also seen his inconsistency. What wages is he asking for? Do you know what wages he's asking for? Because I don't know what wages he's asking for. Frank McNeil says, aloha from Hawaii. Wow, what time is it in Hawaii? Hawaii's got to be 12 hours different, surely. Is it like midnight over there? Brian says, that quote sounds like a deal in principle could already be done. My gut instinct is that I actually think this could happen. I think Marcus, with the last 18 months, 2 years, I don't know if there's anything going on in his personal life. You would have to assume maybe something, the way his form fell off. It could have just purely been down to the injury, and I hope it was just down to the injury. But if he's not recovered over everything, or maybe doesn't feel like he's valued as much as he once was, I could understand the need to want to go and have a fresh start somewhere. And going to Paris, you guarantee you're going to win some stuff. But if you go to a Paris or a Barcelona and you're not a Messi or an Mbappe or a Neymar, look at how they treat some of their players. I think if he stayed at United and even just won one title, that's a success, right? Surely that's a success. And you go down as a cult hero and a legend if you are a player that sticks around and does that. Red Lad says, we have no one else that runs in behind like Rashford. He'll be good almost anywhere for that reason alone. Correct. Ion says, if a deal happens in principle, would the Gakpo deal in Jan make sense considering he plays from the left? Yes. Muya says -3 in Saltney, Wales. If Rashi was like to go, then let him go, but the club should try, without breaking the bank, to sign a new contract, at least make him on par with Sancho. Again, this is the legacy of Ed Woodward, isn't it? In giving players massively inflated contracts. When Sancho arrived, was he 21, 22 when he arrived, Sancho? Something along those lines. Give him, was it $350 a week? No player's going to go down from there. The next time he sits down to renew his contracts, he's sitting down for 500 minimum. It wouldn't shock me to see Sancho moved on the basis of that he's on a mental wage alone. Whether or not he ends up being good, I'm not sure you're getting value for money out of him like that. The same with De Gea. That some of the contracts Ed Woodward sanctioned, Sanchez, De Gea, like United are reeling from that right now. The culture changed at United with that. And that's been an issue ever since, I believe. Zuba says Rashford has been hit and miss for years. Well, no, he had 18 months of like pretty bad injuries and didn't really have a pre-season. That's the one. Yvonne says, tuning in from sunny Staley, Vegas. Oh, whereabouts in Staley, Vegas you live? I lived in Sally Vegas for a little bit. That was when me and Janine had our first apartment together. I lived in the Urban Splash place at the Mill. It was fucking lovely, and it was well expensive, and we couldn't afford to live there really, but we did a year there. That man Dan says I would extend, chuck a 4-year sizable contract at him because the ceiling on him is still high. If he stalls, then you know his head's gone, and you plan and take the offer summer 24. It's pretty sensible. Mark, I always ask about this, but did I manage to catch the PFL final? Absolutely buzzing for Brendan. Grafted his Arsenal off for it. Yes, I did. And if I haven't said so publicly on a podcast, I think I have done, but I could not be prouder of Brendan. Me and Brendan known each other for 15 years or so, something like that. Brendan, I think, was either just about to go pro. I think he was semi-pro. I think he just had a lot of amateur fights and was just either going semi-pro. There was a shit little MMA organization called Clash of Warriors. Was it Clash of Warriors in Nottingham area? Oh, it was pathetic. I think he'd just been fighting on that. And then the one amateur MMA fight that I had, Brendan was in my corner for, and I used to spar with him and a lad called Adam Whitefield constantly, and I used to get the shit beaten out of me by the pair of them. There are some athletes that live and breathe their sport and are obsessed and committed, and what Brendan has done in the last 5 or 6 years has taken that commitment to a whole other level. I massively admire his desire to go and learn and to put himself in uncomfortable places, going out to Thailand to learn Thai boxing with the best of them, putting himself out I think it's at Alliance with Dominic Cruz and getting smushed by some of the best wrestlers in the game. You know, wrestling against Dagestani wrestlers in Manchester and Iranian wrestlers, which is something that I used to do with him when we was in Manchester, just constantly putting himself in uncomfortable situations to improve, to get to the best of his that he can be. And today he is a world champion, and I can't tell you the pride I have in him for doing what he has done. I'm so proud of him, and I knew he was winning it. Like, I know people go, I knew he was going to win it, but he wasn't. I spoke to him after the semi-final, and there was a confidence and an assurance about him where I was like, yeah, he's winning this. There's no danger whatsoever. So yeah, I couldn't be prouder of Brendan. I'd love to see what happens now, whether Dana takes him into the UFC or if he just fights for big money in the UFC. The world is his oyster. He's a world champion. He can do what he wants. Stuart says, bonjour from Melbourne. Bonjour. Rune says, Marshall's on 250, Sancho's on 300. Rashford would want parity with both, and I think that would be fair. Deji in the comments saying he's wearing Adidas, not on brand. What do you mean not on brand? This is a sponsored video, but it's not sponsored by Adidas. It's sponsored by the good folks that tell you to look after your balls. And I'm just going to get the read up real quick, and then I'm going to click over to the video. Is that all right with you? So here we go. Are you ready for this? Pow. It's never too early to play holiday music. I disagree. And it's never too early to start thinking about gifts. I definitely don't disagree with that. Whether it's for a friend or the friends in your pants, you can make this season a season to be jolly with Manscaped. Do your little drummer boy a favour and use the Lawnmower 4.0 to avoid another silent night in a bedroom, and add Manscaped's top-of-the-line shower products to have all the people thinking, all I want for Christmas is you. Santa cares about his sack, and so should you. Look nice when you get naughty by going to manscaped.com, use XG20 as a code, get 20% off and free shipping. How's about that? Sort your nuts out, everyone. There's no excuse for scraggy balls. Tidy that shit up. Is it a 3:40 here in Chicago, says Chipmunk. That's AM, isn't it? Mikey says, to be fair, I'd rather Marcus move to Paris than anywhere else within the Premier League. Yeah, I agree. Brian says, makes sense why we're being so heavily linked with Gakpo. Ideal replacement for Marcus. It might be that, you know. It might be that. O'Keen says, keep him and build around him. We have to. We need a spine, a core of players. Chris says, Rashford needs to stay. We can't let him go. My hero. Aaron says, I think Rashi gets 30 goals in the Uber Eats League. I mean, the last season that he was fully fit, he scored a great number of goals and got a handful of assists as well. I totally agree with that, yeah. Left Six says United treated him with disrespect and so did the fans. The kid's a national treasure and fed our kids. Frank says almost midnight here. Do I know if Rio's documentary is coming out on the US on Amazon? No, but I will see him later on, so I can ask him. Yvonne says she's in Copley. Oh, there you go. Aaron says, on fighting Mokaev to be the youngest UFC champ ever, I think he's nailed on if he doesn't get injured. Yeah, Mokaev is inevitably going to be UFC champion. He's not going to stay undefeated, though, because he takes far too many risks, which is not a negative. Some people are going to consider that as a negative. I don't consider that a negative. I like that about him. I like that he pushes the envelope. I'd rather he ends up with like 6 or 7 losses on his career but wins everything because he went for it rather than trying to play it safe and plan his career out. He is on a trajectory that makes no sense, really, at the moment, Mokaev. But, yeah, I think he'll be UFC champion, no doubt about it whatsoever. Jamie says, would love for Marcus to stay, but if his wish is to leave, then surely he's got to treat it like any other player who wants to leave. A bitter pill to swallow. Yeah. Martin Walwork from Huntington Beach, California. Darmin says, ooh, careful, Steve. Am I allowed to market Manscaped out in Qatar? Probably. Yeah, you probably are, but I'm in Dubai at the moment, so I can do what I want. Alex says, I've been hearing Sancho is going, now Rashford too. I haven't heard anything about Sancho. Where's everyone seeing that? Joe says 21 degrees here in Hong Kong. Martin says United have to figure out the logjam up top and who they want to move on. If Gakpo really is a priority, then it can only be as a 9. Otherwise, that would leave Sancho, Rashford and Garnacho all coming. Totally. Abhinav says, on some level, I think Marcus is being linked to PSG minds. Our players are doing well. Also, if you're in Uncle Pat's house, where is the panda? I honestly, it's such a treat. I caught myself like seeing myself sitting here before, thinking about how the fuck am I sitting here talking to Rio on the computer and sitting with Pat. Honestly, when the episode of Rio and Patrice Reacts will be coming out in a bit, it's the best one we've done. It's absolutely brilliant. It's genuinely top. I can't wait to watch it back. Russell says, Steve, let's offer Marcus a decent deal, but start scaling back the mega deals that we give out at will. Perhaps Marcus can start a new model to a wage structure. There's always hope. I wonder. Alex says, I hope you're ready for when you come back home, 5 weeks in a desert and back to the UK winter, knowing your immune system, you get pneumonia. I believe it's cold. All I'm getting is texts from people back home moaning about how cold it is. I'm like, sorry, everybody. I can't relate. Martin says, I think you've been on our show before. I did be on the pitch with Phil Brown. Yes, I have been on it. Yeah, it was a few years ago, that 4 or 5 years ago. Chris says, I'm from Droylsden. Shout out. Moved to Copley, now watching from Tobermory in Scotland up the fucking Reds. Nice. Aaron says, what about the future of United? Amad Diallo in great form in a difficult league for someone of his physical stature. I don't think Amad's going to do it, to be honest. I don't think he's going to do it. Hang on. What else was I going to talk about? I was going to talk about the World Cup as well. So I'm not very happy with the World Cup going from 32 teams to 48 teams. I'd almost be happier if it went to 64 teams in reality. The last time we had 24, it was a shit show. And I think the 32-team format, the only way I think you could improve it, and I understand the arguments to not do it, would be I'd like to see everybody go into the hat again. Maybe for the quarterfinals or maybe for the round of 16, because I think knowing your opponents can make it a little bit tactical, and I don't necessarily think anyone draws or loses a game on purpose at the last group stage game, especially when pretty much every group had jeopardy where 3 or even 4 of the teams that were still in there could qualify for the next stage in the last group game. That's brilliant. That goes away with this new World Cup. 16 groups of 3 teams, which means that some teams are going to be watching the others play. They're going to get to know that there's something to be said for playing on the same day at the same time. The knockouts are as normal, but there's an added round, so the round of 32. So essentially this group stage is just to eliminate one team, and then 2 out of the 3 are going through anyway. So then there's a massive round of 32. They've already voted for this format, but it could still change apparently. And people say they want to do it because Infantino talked about the money that will be generated by having a bigger tournament, which will obviously allegedly, I don't know how. I mean, if anyone's watched the Kickback documentary on Amazon, I was talking to ever about that earlier, actually. He was asking me if I watched the one on Netflix. And I said, have you seen the one that's on Amazon? And he said, no, so I've just sent it him. It's unbelievable documentary. You sit there like this because it's mind-blowing. I think FIFA is a real problem for football. But alas. Infantino talked about the money that's going to be generated and then said it'll get spread to the smaller countries that are part of FIFA. And this is one of the main reasons it was voted in by some of the smaller countries. I would need to see some evidence of that, because if you watch Kickback, none of this money gets to the smaller countries at all. And if it does, it ends up going into the pockets of the presidents of some of those organisations in those countries. More teams get a chance to go to the tournament. Now, that's a positive thing. I don't have an issue with that. And teams who are on the cusp of qualifying will maybe finally get the opportunity to go. And I think it can bring so much joy to the different countries that get to compete in the World Cup, that is a positive thing. But if that's the nature of it, then make it 64. Have the round of 32 anyway, but let's have the same number of group games that there is now and just have that one extra round. That'd do bits, I think. Connor says it snowed here in Dublin. Alex said, what did I do last night? Did I go out? I got fucked around Royal getting into my hotel. I didn't get in until gone 1, so I ended up just going to bed. Where's Ronaldo Brown at? I haven't seen him in your vids. He went home about a week ago. Here's why I think FIFA actually want to do it. So FIFA makes 90% of the income, 90% of its worldwide income via the Men's World Cup. Therefore, the more games, the more tickets, the more commercial deals, the more money. It also means that more teams get to go to the World Cup, meaning that there's more fans, more matches, more money for FIFA, and FIFA need that money after the raids that they had in 2016, 2017. They need to make clean money rather than some of the allegedly dodgy money that they were getting in the first place. There's 3 nations hosting the tournament, which makes it bonkers as well. I mean, it's a continental tournament now. It's not a country hosting it. America's a big gaff anyway, but now you've got Canada and Mexico involved in it. It's literally a continent. But that means 3 nations are hosting it, which means that they've all qualified automatically. Usually only 1 spot is taken by a host. Now 3 of them are taken up by a host. Some of the way... Watch that documentary Kickback, because it's fucking scandalous, in all honesty. Anthony says, I like the extra knockout, but 3-team groups are awful. Genuinely awful. Like, you're going to have A versus B while C is on the sideline. Then you're going to have C versus B while A is on the sideline. And it's just a fucking mess. It's an absolute mess. Crunch Time says, the sucky thing with a 3-team pool is, you win 1, you're most likely to go through to the knockouts. 12 pools of 4 means we have lucky losers, which also brings... It's just shit. It's just absolutely shit. Notch says, changing groups of 3 to groups of 4 with third-place teams qualifying could still result in collusion. It could. So I would say, let's just rock it 64. You get the extra round of 32 anyway, and then crack on. Do you know what? They'll probably do 2 World Cups like this and then make it 64 anyway. And I'm not necessarily against that. I think I should hope that there is more and more international competition that actually means something. International friendlies bore the piss out of me. I would rather watch cricket than international friendlies. And I hate the way that they block up domestic football. But I love tournament football. I love where you can go all in and just... look at the fixtures we've got this weekend. I am so fucking pumped for the fixtures that we've got this weekend. The only game that's possibly going to be boring... Well, it's 2 might be boring. Netherlands and Argentina might be boring because Louis van Gaal wants to make it boring. The other one, Croatia and Brazil, might be because Croatia are probably going to try and do it off set pieces. Portugal-Morocco will not be a boring game, and England-France could be an absolute banger. They're going to be awesome games. I don't necessarily have... necessarily? If everyone says, am I going to the England game? I don't know. When tickets come, they come at the very last minute. We have been getting them for face value, though, so that's a positive. Alex says, can you wish me a happy birthday, bud? Happy birthday, Alex. Sam says, am I finding life out there? Could imagine I'd be here when I first started the channel. No. I still can't imagine some of the stuff we do out here now. Like I said earlier, I was just sitting here watching Rio and Ever argue. I'm sitting like, how the fucking hell did I get here? Have a Europa League World Cup. Yeah, we discussed this on a late night live not long ago, where I said, like, if you had, like, you got the World Cup, Then you could have a world trophy for like the teams ranked like 75 to 150, and then you could maybe have like a world vase for the teams like 150 down. Competition's going to make it better, right? Vote for Steve for FIFA President 2030. BM says, will we get Bellingham? I don't know. Ask Santa Claus, really nice, see what he says. Google List says, let's be honest here, most people only care about the big games. No one will want to watch some random Asian team versus Switzerland. Why not, though? Some of the best games have been the so-called random games. And I think the technical ability of some of the sides is actually quite surprising. Kevin says, you're one of us, living vicariously through you. Well, I hope you've been enjoying the vlogs. If you've been watching the vlogs, I do appreciate that. So cheers, and hopefully you've been enjoying them as well. I might be off to a boxing gym a little bit later on. I'm hoping that's the case. Notch says, FIFA care way more about profit than they do competition. I get that. But I also think that there's a way for them to have their cake and eat it for once. Like, normally, like, the things that are happening with the Super League and things like that, they're just fucking awful. But if you're like, right, so what do they want to do? They want to expand the competition. Why do they want to expand the competition? It means more teams get to compete, which means more teams are going to watch, which means more of the world is going to watch. Literally double the amount of people in the world can start watching it, which means that if they qualify, you know, there's more tourism, there's just more, right? Well, for literally one extra game, or a team that goes to the final, for one extra game, you can just double the number of teams involved. It's a lot more of a ball ache for the host nation to find enough stadiums to host all these games. That would be a little bit of a logistical nightmare for sure. But you can maintain the integrity of the competition, add the extra round of 32, and still keep the format which makes these World Cups fucking mega at the moment without completely fucking ballsing them up. That's what I would hope that they do. But they're not going to do that. They're going to make it 48 teams. And just listen. It's going to fucking blow. It's going to absolutely blow. It'll get good from the quarters onwards, but the group stages will not be as good as the group stages we've just seen. It will be a 1 out of 10. Yvonne says, I think Argentina versus Netherlands will be the most interesting game. I think Holland can turn them over. I think that'll potentially be the closest game. I think it'll be I think that could be 0-0 and penalties, that one, because I think that's a 1-0 win for Louis van Gaal, I think. Vishal says, mint work on the vlogs, keep them coming. Ed says, watch the FIFA doc, they're on Mafia levels. I don't think Mafia are on FIFA levels, to be honest. So there. That'll do it for me, I think. Remember, Manscaped, code XG20, get your nuts shaved, keep them clean for Christmas. And take it easy. There's more content coming out as usual. I was hoping to just tell me a little plan, because honestly, the hours are fucking outrageous. I don't get in till like midnight tonight, and we have got a shoot now at 8 in the fucking morning. But it is with Micah Richards, and it will be in the gym, so that's going to be pretty fucking cool. So make sure to tune in at 5 to check that out. Tune into the vlogs for the behind the scenes of how all that stuff really goes down. Take it easy. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.